Welcome to my sewing room. We have some really unusual puffing tricks to show you today. Puffing is such an unusual and such a beautiful technique in heirloom sewing, but straight puffing is not all we're going to show you today. This absolutely wonderful nightgown has what we call crescent puffing on the top. Do you see how the puffing appears to make a crescent? Well, actually it's really easy to do. We'll show you how to do it a little bit later. While I'm on the front of this lovely little gown, let me show you the straight puffing over here on the side. This is generally what I think of when I think of puffing, so we have some really wonderful tricks to show you today with some unusual puffing. This sweet little smocked bishop dress has just several little rows of smocking on the top, but let's come down to the skirt. That's what I want to show you for today's show. Do you see the puffing, which is in the shape of a triangle? It goes along and the little Swiss trim comes up and down and up and down. That really isn't so hard to do. We'll show you how a little bit later. Little boys like pretty things too. So here is the triangular puffing on the front of this beautiful little boy outfit. Do you see the triangular puffing? I'm going to show you how to do that in just a minute. Another very unusual puffing treatment is found on this little pinafore bib with this precious little pink dress. Once again, triangle is the theme, and the puffing is a little bit wider, and look here how sweet the little flip-flop bow has been stitched right down on top of the puffing. Now that really is an unusual technique. To learn how to make these beautiful puffing shapes, I'd like for you to go with me over to the technique boards. Making that precious triangular puffing on the little bishop dress and the little boy's suit is very easy to do. Here's how. First of all, we have to make this strip that has the Swiss embroidered insertion and entredot on both sides. So here we go. First of all, stitching the ditch, zigzag, you got to attach entredot to the Swiss insertion. You stitch in the ditch and you trim and you zigzag, and then look what happens. When I open it up, the entredot is attached to both sides. For the puffing strip, I will run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or however many rows of gathering. I pull the bobbin threads and gather the strip up. Now, I need to make my little triangular portion before I put the puffing strip in between it. So here we go. I'm going to treat it just exactly as if it were lace. I'm making a diamond out of this Swiss, but we're going to pretend like it's lace. So we come up, pin at the top, pin at the bottom, just like you might or lace, fold it back on itself, remove the pin, put it through 2 layers at the bottom, and you make your triangular piece just as if it were lace. Now, here's what you do next. After I make my triangular piece, like this, come in here and zigzag the top all the way around. Then come in behind, trim away the fabric that is left behind here, trim it away or else fold it back, and then go back, let me fold it back up here, then go back and zigzag down over the piece. Now I have a piece of triangular puffing. It is now time to put in all of my puffing. All right, I slip in my piece of puffing. Let me hold this up so you can see. Here's my straight piece of puffing. I slip it in behind this triangular piece, come in and zigzag up and all the way down. Then I'm going to flip it over to the back. This is the back of the piece. Fold it down and zigzag it down to hold it. And then guess what I'm going to do with all this excess? You got it. I'm just going to trim it away. Now let's go back to the front. Here's what the front of the piece looks like. After I have made the triangle, put in the puffing, then I will come in and put one more strip down the middle. Now that's my triangular puffing. Another really pretty type of puffing is in the shape of a heart. First of all, I draw my heart off on the fabric. Then I'll come in and run a piece of wide puffing, take the puffing, put it on the heart, and stitch a little heart shape all the way around it to hold it in place. Then I've got to trim off the excess puffing. It is now time to put the lace around the heart. I pin the big part of the heart. Let me come around here and just pin this one. Right here. Just like you're making a lace-shaped heart. Put the pins on the large side all the way around. And let me show you how to do a little twist underneath here. This is what you do when you're at the bottom of a heart. I can't fold it back on itself to miter it, so you know what I do? I come in here and turn it under on itself and then put a pin at the bottom to make the heart. Then I'm going to pull a string and make this heart lay down. After I have pulled the string and the heart lays down, this makes the puffing heart, and this is what it looks like over here. To make those beautiful puffing crescents like I showed you on the nightgown, first of all, I come in here and I scallop the lace. I make the top part of the crescent. Then I trim it away. In other words, here's my top part of the crescent. Then I come in here and I make a bottom part of the crescent. Come up here and make your scallops, zigzag it, shape it, trim it away. So now as you can see, let me scoot this back here where you can see, I have a top and a bottom part of the crescent ready to go together. Now I'm going to put some puffing in the middle. Here is my strip of puffing that I'm going to eventually put in the middle. Okay, top and a bottom. Okay, I have my top crescent here, and here's my piece that has the bottom crescent. All right, I'm going to put the strip of puffing in. You see that strip of puffing runs all the way behind there, and now I'm ready to zigzag all of the pieces together, and then guess what I do? Coming down here, after I have zigzagged all the pieces together, I come in and trim away from behind this lace, and that is what makes those pretty puffing crescents. I'm going to show you another little trick over at the sewing machine. So come on over here and let's play with this puffing just a little bit more. You see, it isn't hard, it's just fun. This is going to be triangular puffing. Okay, first of all, I draw the triangle onto my fabric. Next, I bring the lace up. Once again, do you remember how to miter? Pin at the top, pin at the bottom, fold it back on itself, remove the pin at the bottom that goes through 2 layers, and look here. Bring it all the way around, and guess what I have? I have a lace triangle. Now that wasn't hard, was it? Now then, I'm going to sew that lace triangle down on the outside. Here's the next step. Come on up here and look at, well, first of all, I've got to make my puffing. And I run all of these different rows. Let me tell you a little trick on remembering which row is the basting row to pull, because you cut the top gathers real short like that, and just leave your bottom row long, your bobbin's what I meant to say, not your basting row. Leave your bobbin row long, and then you can just gather it up and pull your puffing up. I've already done it on this side right here. That's my puffing strip. All right, after I have zigzagged down, can you see there? After I've zigzagged the outside of the triangle, I'm now ready to attach the puffing to that triangle. Okay, here we go. I just lay the puffing underneath there, lower the presser foot. I probably would need to stick a pin in there, but for time's sake, I won't do it. And I've got a little zigzag, about a 2 width zigzag and about a 1 length, and I'm going to zigzag and zigzag and zigzag. Let me just come up into this corner and zigzag and zigzag. Okay. Should have put needle down, shouldn't I? All right, I'm going to turn around this way, and then I'm going to zigzag back down. Zigzag, zigzag right on top of that puffing, and you can see what I'm doing. I'm zigzagging all around this square, and with this technique, I'm attaching the puffing to the triangle. Now then, over here I have already finished it, so let me pull it over here to show you. After attaching the puffing to the triangle, zigzagging all the way around, I will turn it over to the back, and you guessed it, need to trim away all of these goodies here. In other words, to make it peekaboo and really make it pretty. I'll come in here and just trim away. Well, I could just go ahead and trim a little bit of that to show you. Just come in here and cut away the excess puffing. Be careful and don't cut your lace. It's real easy to cut anything when I'm sewing, as a matter of fact. Now then, I've trimmed it away, and then it's sort of a peekaboo puffing. Now, isn't that pretty? That's how you make a puffing triangle. Back over to the boards once again. Do you remember we were making the wonderful Australian blouse for this series? Now, when I say Australian blouse, why do I call this Australian blouse? Well, it was designed by a friend of mine in Australia. It's one of the most beautiful blouses I've ever seen, and this is the blouse for the series. It has sleeves. Do you see all this wonderful puffing and the strips up and down? I've just made this kind of simple here. This blouse is made out of a linen. I've used silk dupioni up here. You attach all of these goodies together. In other words, I have the different strips ready to attach using all of the beginning French sewing techniques. I put it all together and make a piece of fabric. In other words, I create a piece of fabric. After creating a piece of fabric, I then take the front of the blouse, I trace it off like this, simply trace it off and cut it out, and then I treat it as one piece of fabric. That's absolutely all there is to making a beautiful, beautiful blouse that has wonderful treatment up and down the center. You can do the same thing on the sleeve. You create your piece of fabric and then you cut it out. We have a really pretty quilt square for you next. It's called the Diamond Puffing Quilt Square, and it's made out of silk dupioni, and it is beautiful. I think you're going to love the quilt square we have for you today. You know, we've been doing the creative, or some people call it advanced puffing. It really isn't advanced, it's very easy. This quilt square features beautiful purple silk dupioni. You see that's the background of the quilt square. And these diamonds in the quilt square really aren't diamonds at all. It's two triangles put together to make a diamond. Now the puffing comes in these little diamonds. Do you see this wonderful sort of a gold silk dupioni that is puffed right in the middle, puffing and puffing and puffing and puffing to make the diamonds. Oh, but look at what is in the middle of this. Absolutely beautiful. Silk ribbon work. These little petals are just wide silk ribbon laid down. We'll show you how to do those. And then the beautiful silk ribbon flowers in the middle with those pretty beads in wonderful colors of purple and blue and gold and green. What a beautiful quilt square. Here's how we make those triangular puffing. First of all, let me pull this up here so you can see. I'm going to make a strip of puffing out of the silk dupioni. Then I cut my triangular shapes out of paper. I go on top of the silk dupioni and trace one triangle here. And in order to save fabric, I just come in and put this one upside down, trace another triangle there, and as you can see, I move over here and trace another triangle. Now, what I do next is stitch around where I trace the triangles and then cut them out. How do you do lace shaping around a triangle? It's just a little bit of a trick. All right, I put the lace along the stitching lines, pin on the inside, pin on the outside. Let me make that lay down just a little bit more. Then I fold it back on itself. Remember, we've been doing a lot of that, haven't we? Then remove the pin that's on the inside that goes through two layers. And I'll travel on up here, going up to the next part of the triangle, okay? Pin on the inside, pin on the outside, fold it back, remove the pin, come on around here, then pin right here at the middle and twist it underneath in order to, just like you do on at the bottom of a diamond. Hang on just a minute. Twist it underneath, and then I finish the lace shaping on the diamond. Now then I'm going to zigzag it, and we're going to come over here to the middle to make these wonderful little puffs right here, the wonderful little leaves. All right, I stick my silk ribbon, this humongous needle. All right, I bring it up from the bottom. I go down through the fabric, and you kind of have to pull and pull and pull. As a matter of fact, just pull and pull, because this is kind of hard to get through here. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to play with it a little bit to be sure it lays nice and flat, and turn it to where my little petals are even, and then do my silk ribbon embroidery on top of that. Since we were featuring the gorgeous advanced puffing technique on today's show, our beautiful doll thought she would like a dress like this also. Using an adaptation of our beautiful little antique dress, this gorgeous little blue-eyed blonde doll has on a wonderful bodice and just all kinds of details on this lovely yellow batiste dress. The first detail I'd like for you to notice, of course, is our triangular puffing. You know, we've been talking about that this whole show. But let me show you some other details that are beautiful. This is a machine feather stitch which goes up and down. You can see that machine feather stitch right here. And oh, I just have to show you the sleeve on this little doll dress. Let me turn her around so you can see. You see it has the triangular lace with the little machine feather stitch and a little bit of entredeaux and lace at the bottom of that sleeve. You see, you can just imagine why this little doll loves her dress so much. Let me turn her around once again. The little skirt has, once again, triangles on it, but it's simply a triangular finish on the bottom of the skirt with the triangularly, that's a mouthful, isn't it? The insertion and then the beautiful gathered French edging, and then once again, the machine feather stitch that goes all the way around the skirt. I think you've already seen how easy it is to make triangular puffing, but let me share with you on the doll dress exactly how this happens. I have the little doll dress, the little front bodice of the doll dress traced off here on the piece of ecru batiste. I have traced off the lines where the laces will go. So I can put the flat lace here and then do the mitered lace here, which is exactly what I've done on this side. Now, after stitching the lace down, the only thing in the world I have to do next, let me find my scissors here, around my neck, is to come in here and trim away that fabric, being careful not to cut your lace. I'm not going to trim it all away. I'll just trim it away to show you what it looks like. We have a little hole in the bodice of the dress. Here is my triangular puffing. I will put it down, put the hole in the bodice of the dress over it, move it over to my sewing machine and stitch it down. And that makes triangular puffing. We have a beautiful pillow for almost any room in your home, which also uses triangular puffing. This little puffing pillow is one of my very favorites, and I'll tell you why. It can be used in literally any room of your house. I believe it can anyway. If you look at me with this little pillow, it's made out of a lovely soft silk fabric. It has tapestry, which could be any tapestry, or it could match or even not match any tapestry you have on your upholstery. It has the traditional fringe with little tassels and then some fringe that trims this pillow. And you see, this is the puffing part of the pillow right here. Okay, let's see how easy it is to put this beautiful puffing pillow together. First of all, I run the rows of gathering, in this case 3 rows of gathering across the top of the silk fabric. Now this is kind of a cute trick. Here is the little flap that fits on the pillow next. Now and this is made out of upholstery fabric. Now how do I make that flap? Well, it's really very easy. Take your upholstery fabric, fold it in half, stitch along this stitching line right here, and then turn it right side out and you have a triangle. Next comes the trim. This particular little fringe is really pretty in this beautiful burgundy. The trim is stitched down right on top of this. Have to get my little tassel straightened out here, but you see what I'm saying. It's stitched down right on top of this. And then the next step before I put the lining on is to put the beautiful cording on made out of the silk fabric. So the cording goes on the bottom like this. And next comes the lining of the pillow, and stitch all the way around it, leaving enough space to turn it. And guess what? You end up with this beautiful pillow right here after you put a little stuffing in, of course. You have to make it fluffy. You know what? We thought that this was such a good idea, making this pillow with upholstery fabric, which you might have in your particular living room, great room, den, bedroom, or whatever. We thought it'd be nice to have another decorative accessory, maybe even a hot glue gun decorative accessory that you can make to kind of match this pillow. So that's what we have for you next. A wonderful little clock which matches this pillow. Our craft for you today, I believe, would look nice in almost any room in your home or someone that you would like to give a gift. Look, if you will, please, at this lovely clock. It's made from a wonderful upholstery tapestry, braid, little clockworks that you purchase at any craft store, and all kinds of other goodies. Let's see how you make this clock. Here we go. First of all, lay your clock, your wooden clock piece with a little hole in it that you get from the craft store down on a piece of paper, trace all the way around it, and then make your dots a little bit bigger to go around, to actually cut your upholstery with. Then you're going to glue your upholstery pieces down on the front, and of course, any clock needs to be just as pretty on the back as it is on the front. Glue it down and then trim it away. After trimming it away, then comes the fun. Here are the braids. They're going to go all the way around the clock. One braid, two braids. A braid comes all the way around like this. Glue the little pieces here. All of these are found at a craft store. You can glue the little pieces, and then actually this is what the little clock face look like. You can purchase any kind of a style that you like and get the little hands, whatever you like at the craft store. Another little piece of braid around that, and then the little clock works, which you put a battery in the back, can be inserted into the back. You know what? I think that's an easy craft and really a fun craft to do, and I believe it would make an awfully nice gift. Now, come on with me to my attic. Today I have something really pretty and really special to show you that's in hiding up there in Grandmother's trunk. The antique garment I'm going to share with you today has some really unusual puffing also. I believe this garment was made probably in the 30s. As you can see looking at the details, it is made out of a plain netting, cotton netting, and then the point d'Esprit cotton netting. Do you see this little piece of puffing here? Let's go on down to the skirt, all the way down to the bottom, to see all of the pretty details on this little netting dress. The main detail I would like to share with you is this inset of puffing right here in the skirt. You see the front of the skirt is completely plain, and then there's a little insert of puffing right in here. The puffing is made out of a plain netting with a gathering line at the top, in the middle, and at the bottom. And that makes a sweet little puffed inset. Here is another one of the puffed insets up at the top of the skirt. Again, gathering, gathering, gathering. So you see, creative puffing is not just for today's modern seamstresses, but a long time ago we had seamstresses that enjoyed it also. I have a very sweet sewing from the heart for you today from Kathy Kay of Lebanon, Indiana. The time has come. I just have to write you and let you know what an inspiration you have been for me and my bears. A few years ago, while helping my in-laws who had many medical problems, I spent many hours waiting in doctors' offices. To occupy my mind and hands, I returned to my smocking, which has been set aside to raise children and work. As I was browsing through the newsstand, I came upon my first issue of So Beautiful. It didn't take long until I caught the heirloom sewing fever. My problem was that I had no one for whom to sew these beautiful creations. After receiving your book on Barely Beginning Smocking, I decided to try and make bears and make the clothes for them. After much trial and error, I have finally become recognized for quality bears. God has given me a chance to use my talents to touch many lives. Through a bathrobe given to me by a 90-year-old lady, I began making bears for the battered women in the county. We call them batter bears. The local director was amazed at the consolation the bears bring to these women. The stories would bring tears to your eyes. Kathy, that is a sweet story about how you're using your sewing machine to sew for those less fortunate. Kathy has sent along a lovely note card, which she has had made, with the little bear, one of the types of bears that she makes. Aren't they absolutely beautiful? So that's the kind of bear that Kathy is making to give to the women in the battered women's shelters. One of the things I really like to believe is happening with Martha's Sewing Room, as you watch the shows and enjoy all the beautiful ideas, is that you will begin to think of ways that you might use your sewing machine to do volunteer work for those less fortunate. Thank you so much for joining me in my sewing room today. I certainly hope to see you next time.